Welcome to Reno's World podcast, where truth and myth collide and every story gets a deep dive. I'm your host, Reno Rains, your guide through the unknown. Tonight's topic, the crystal skulls and the ancient alien theory. We're exploring the strange, the mysterious, and the downright unbelievable. And just so you know, we play an old movie to give you something to look at because, well, this is a podcast and we like to keep things interesting. So sit back, relax, and let's unravel tonight's tale. It sat beneath glass in a dimly lit British museum basement, silent, transparent, and impossibly carved. The object in question, a full-size crystal skull made of clear quartz, mysteriously appearing in the museum's inventory in 1898. Listed as Aztec in origin, the skull had no excavation records, no provenance. It had been acquired from Eugène Bobon, a French antiquities dealer with known ties to questionable artifacts, and yet the craftsmanship was striking. Human in shape, anatomically precise, and polished to near perfection. Questions emerged quickly. Where did it come from? Who made it? And how? The story deepened in 1924 when British adventurer F.A. Mitchell Hedges and his adopted daughter Anna traveled to the ruined Mayan city of Lubantun, nestled in the dense jungles of British Honduras, now Belize. According to Anna's later accounts, she discovered a similarly detailed crystal skull beneath a collapsed altar. The skull, she claimed, was unlike anything local workers or archaeologists had ever seen. Weighing nearly 12 pounds, carved from a single block of quartz with a detachable jaw, it was hauntingly lifelike. But a problem arose. No official record of this discovery exists from the 1920s. In fact, documents show that Mitchell Hedges purchased the skull at a Sotheby's auction in 1943, 2 decades after Anna's alleged find. The seller? Again, Eugène Bobon's successor in the artifact trade. By the mid-20th century, several crystal skulls had surfaced. The British Museum skull, another in Paris's Musée du Quai Branly, one in the Smithsonian. All shared eerie similarities, detailed features, translucent quartz, and an utter lack of credible archaeological documentation. None were excavated under formal conditions. None were photographed in situ. All appeared through private collections, auctions, or antiquities dealers, often with ties to 19th century Europe, not pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. Still, the skulls themselves were real and exquisitely made. In the 1970s, Hewlett-Packard engineers reportedly tested the Mitchell Hedges skull and claimed it had been carved against the natural axis of the quartz. Doing so, they said, would normally shatter the crystal unless done with extreme care. No rotary marks or metal tool abrasions were found, leading some to speculate that the skull may have been created through unknown methods, possibly by ancient civilizations with lost technologies. This set the stage for the ancient aliens theory. Authors like Eric von Däniken proposed that the skulls were evidence of advanced visitors from other worlds, beings who once interacted with early human cultures and gifted or left behind knowledge encoded in crystal. Quartz, after all, is used in modern electronics for data regulation and storage. Could the skulls be relics of an interstellar archive? Others added that 13 skulls, a recurring claim in books and lectures, were spread across the globe, each holding a piece of humanity's spiritual or historical blueprint. If brought together, some believed, they would unlock lost cosmic knowledge. But no verified source for this 13-skull legend has been traced to any ancient culture. Instead, it appears to have originated with New Age spiritual movements in the late 20th century. Skeptics moved quickly. Beginning in the early 2000s, museums conducted in-depth tests. In 2005, the British Museum's skull was examined under an electron microscope. It revealed microscopic tool marks consistent with a rotary wheel, invented in the 19th century. The Smithsonian skull showed similar marks and was dated, via stylistic and tool analysis, to likely originate from Germany in the late 1800s. Furthermore, X-ray diffraction and analysis of internal fissures in several skulls pointed to quartz sourced not from Mesoamerica, but from regions like Brazil and Madagascar. This evidence strongly suggests that the most famous skulls were crafted during the rise of European fascination with Mesoamerican relics, when the market for exotic artifacts boomed. Eugène Bobin, the key figure, worked in both Mexico and Paris and is now considered by historians to be the likely originator of many skulls attributed to ancient cultures. He sold at least one skull to the British Museum and another to the Musée du Quai Branly, both lacking any field records. Despite these findings, mystery clings to the edges. Some skulls, particularly the Mitchell-Hedges example, continue to defy easy explanation. Private owners and independent researchers report strange phenomena, shifting temperatures, unexplained light refractions, even a sense of presence in the room. While these claims are anecdotal and have not been reproduced under scientific scrutiny, they have kept public fascination alive. Today, crystal skulls are scattered across the world, in museums, private homes, and spiritual centers. The mainstream view classifies them as 19th century masterworks, likely carved with great skill and imagination during a time when the appetite for ancient artifacts fueled both genuine discovery and sophisticated forgery. And yet, beneath the polished surfaces, the enduring question remains: why do these skulls continue to inspire such belief, even after the evidence seems to dissolve their legends? The Mitchell-Hedges skull was transported for further testing in 2007. Jane McLaren Walsh, a Smithsonian anthropologist specializing in archaeological fraud, spearheaded the evaluation. Using high-powered microscopes and precise imaging equipment, she examined the skull's contours, surface markings, and interior structure. What she found aligned closely with previous investigations: rotary wheel striations, visible at the base and teeth, as well as traces of modern polishing compounds. These findings contradicted claims that the skull was pre-Columbian or even ancient. Most damning of all, the quartz used in the skull did not match sources from ancient Mesoamerican regions. Rather, it pointed to European or Brazilian crystal, known suppliers in 19th century trade networks. In short, the Mitchell-Hedges skull, arguably the most iconic and debated, showed every sign of being a 19th or early 20th century creation. This conclusion echoed earlier museum analyses and challenged decades of lore and televised speculation. Still, the story refused to die. Television shows like Ancient Aliens and In Search Of brought the skulls back into popular consciousness. Some researchers leaned heavily into the quantum resonance theories, claiming that quartz, due to its piezoelectric properties, could interact with the human mind, store consciousness, or even act as a cosmic hard drive. These ideas found a foothold in fringe science and spiritual communities, especially during the New Age movement of the 1980s and 1990s. None of these ideas, however, have been replicated or validated through peer-reviewed scientific research. To date, no credible laboratory has demonstrated that quartz skulls contain data, transmit signals, or exhibit anomalous energy behaviors beyond the known properties of quartz. The 13 Skulls narrative continued to evolve. Books, lectures, and documentaries proposed that 13 ancient skulls, spread across Earth, were part of a prophecy tied to the Mayan calendar. When reunited, it was said they would reveal truths about humanity's origins or unlock a new age of enlightenment. Yet scholars have scoured Mayan codices and oral histories. No indigenous myth, inscription, or traditional tale references 13 crystal skulls or a prophecy involving them. The idea, historians agree, originated in modern esoteric literature, most likely during the rise of neo-shamanistic beliefs in the late 20th century. Some supporters argue that the skulls were so advanced they must have been created by ancient extraterrestrial beings. Quartz, they point out, is used in spacecraft instrumentation. Could this be a clue? The ancient astronaut theory gained traction here, tying the skulls to alleged evidence of alien contact across ancient Earth. Proponents pointed to the technical precision of the carving, how it would be nearly impossible with stone tools or even basic metals. But that argument assumes the skulls were made in pre-Columbian times. Scientific consensus is clear. Every well-known crystal skull tested thus far shows evidence of modern tools. Moreover, quartz carving at that level was possible in Europe by the 1800s, particularly in regions like Germany's Idar Oberstein, known for its gem-cutting expertise. Some claims, however, remain harder to classify, not because they are factual, but because they live in the gray zone of subjective experience. Multiple individuals, including researchers and caretakers, have reported strange sensations when handling the skulls. Some speak of sudden emotional shifts, visions, or even auditory experiences. At spiritual events and gatherings where skulls are displayed, reports of unexplained warmth, vivid dreams, or synchronized energy between attendees are common. While no controlled scientific study has reproduced these effects, the consistency of these testimonies across decades cannot be ignored, though they belong more to the realm of personal interpretation than empirical data. Even the Smithsonian's own documents show a long-standing concern about fake artifacts entering public trust. A 1992 internal memo noted that fraud in antiquities dealing, particularly involving Mesoamerican relics, was more widespread than the public assumed. The skulls, in this context, are part of a broader pattern of well-crafted deceptions that played on Western fascination with ancient mysteries. Yet, despite the evidence debunking their ancient origins, the crystal skulls endure, not because of what they are, but because of what they represent: a longing for forgotten wisdom, an echo of a more mystical past, and the hope that something hidden just beneath the surface might still defy explanation. Credibility assessment. The Mitchell-Hedges skull's discovery in Belize. Debunked. Proven auction purchase in 1943. Ancient origin of any major skull. Debunked. All tested examples show modern tool marks. 13 skull prophecy, Mayan prophecy. Debunked. No trace in Mesoamerican tradition. Quartz skulls used to store data. Unverified. Speculative, not scientifically supported. Strange sensations and personal experiences. Unverified. Anecdotal, not reproducible. Existence of crystal skulls as real objects. Verified.